So let's begin with a story. Today at work, you received a promotion, and to celebrate, you want to bring your friends out to dinner. At the restaurant, you enjoy great food, great service, and the company of your friends. It's well understood that by eating together, by breaking bread together, we can develop stronger social bonds and thereby develop a larger sense of community. However, in this story, there's more than just the social element. There's also an economic element introduced when you buy your friends food. By doing so, you contribute to their sustenance. This isn't an issue of charity. Rather, you have two equals coming together, and out of sacrifice and kindness and affection for the other, one is paying for the other. You pay for their meal. So we need to understand that community is more than just a group of people and their social interaction. Rather, community represents a larger kind of interaction. It is the Blueberian I-thou interaction, whereby in any situation you have two people coming together, viewing each other as equal partners in their interaction, and working together for their mutual benefit. It is specifically non-exploitative, whereby you have one person looking at the other person as an object, as a means to obtain their end, and only for their sake. And so in this story, we need to understand that there are more individuals with whom we can develop this larger sense of community. You have the waiter who served you your food, you have the chef who prepared you your food, and you have the farmers who produced your food. Now, we're so focused on consumption all the time that we often forget them. However, specifically with food, it's very important that we do not do so. As soon as we eat, we enter into larger society. We become part of the production-consumption food chain, and as a result, we have an interaction with them. Now, the question is, what's the nature of this interaction? Food is a very special good. The reason why is because it's necessary for your survival and necessary for your sustenance, and so you're receiving enormous benefit from it. If this was a community, for that enormous benefit, the other party as well should be receiving a significant benefit. We understand that there might be inequality in the system, and that's okay, but the problem is it shouldn't be unreasonable. So in a globalized food economy where agribusinesses dominate, when you eat your food, who's the one benefiting on the other side? Oftentimes it's not the one who produces it. Those farmers who make your food oftentimes may have problems feeding their own families. They provide your sustenance, but they don't get it themselves. For them, the benefit they receive is not tied into the value of the food, rather it's simply tied into the labor market, in an area where there's a lot of labor, where people are very desperate, and people have very little power and control. And so how did this happen? It resulted from misappropriated or artificial claims of ownership. You had corporations claiming ownership and patents to genes or varieties of plants and grains that indigenous people have developed over generations of farming. Or you had corporations using simply cheap, temporary labor in hazardous conditions in order to produce your food for you. Our active consumption and also our inaction helps the system to move forward. Again, we are directly tied to those producers, and given the situation, we are also the exporters. The system has locked us into place. And so if we wish to become free from the system, we need to also work with those who are also seeking to be free from the system, as in the producers who are being exploited. In a similar vein as Berger's naked versus nude dichotomy, these workers are always, as individuals, going to be vulnerable to exploitation. The thing is, we need to organize both consumers and producers and work together to create a new system. Given that a lack of community is a problem, the answer lies in developing community and working towards community. For a consumer working against this system, the answer lies in working with producers and forming community with them. A good example of this is the farmers market, where you have people forming not just economic relationships with the producers of their food, but also social relationships. Humans have many arenas of life, and it's possible to interact with a person in more than one way. Provided these relationships aren't exploitative, the more relationships you have, the stronger your bond to this person will be. Now, in our society, we actually do say to not do business with family and friends. Perhaps the reason for this is that we simply don't know how to be non-exploitative in an economic or business relationship. The second example is simply buying local. Just as an individual, you don't need the farmer's market to do so. A third example is the idea of a consumer co-op, where here we do have consumers coming together, forming a community and uniting, and they're interacting as a whole with the producers and buying local foods, as often happens. However, all these solutions have an issue of scalability, as they all involve local farming, and it's unclear that we can do that throughout the entire world to feed the entire world. In any case, noting that we do live in a global food economy, what do we do about the current situation? On one angle, we can rework the system so that the benefit of the producers of food is proportional or tied somehow to the value of the food they produce. The other angle would be the argument that a truly global economic system cannot be just in food production, and we need a more local regionalized system, in which case we would have to abolish it. In any case, there are injustices in the current system, and we must fight against them, as people like Vedana Shiva do. We cannot escape our need for food, and as a result, we cannot escape our interaction with those who produce food. We must seek justice in this interaction. Currently, we see injustice and exploitation. We ourselves are tied into this system where we become the exploiters, and we don't even have a choice in it unless we withdraw from the system and move to a more local option. And thus, we essentially cannot escape our interaction with those who produce our food. However, the way the system is currently set up, we become exploitative in our consumption. This is unacceptable and unjust. Rather, we need to work towards something more beautiful. Just being conscious of this problem is not enough. We need to work towards creating community and forming community with those who produce our food, forming true human relationships, equal relationships with these other individuals so that we can work together for our mutual benefit. Even if we don't know exactly what the answer looks like, we know that what we have right now is not the answer and we see the problems within it. So there's work to be done and we know where to start at least. So what are we waiting for?